afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and excellencies. Thank you so much for making it here today. My name is Christian Singlersen. I head up the EU's energy regulatory agency called ACER, and I have been tasked with three things. First, to kick off. Second, to listen carefully over the next 60 minutes of discussion. And thirdly, to conclude briefly, but also punctually at the end of the discussions. Discussions which hopefully will revolve around a possible transformation of a dependency on those we no longer deem dependable towards an interdependence of sorts amongst those whom we trust. And to kick us off, we have the host of today's meeting, the Danish Prime Minister, Mrs. Mette Frederiksen, and I pass the floor to you, Mrs. Prime Minister.
Thank you, and first of all, thank you all for coming to Marienborg today to participate in the Baltic Sea Energy Security Summit. Putin's brutal aggression is a fundamental threat to Europe's security. And we all know now that he is using our dependence on Russian energy as a weapon to destroy our economy, and he will try to divide us. Today, here at Marienborg, we are together to show that we will never allow this to happen, and that we share a common vision, a vision of a Europe free from Russian energy. And of course also a vision of a climate neutral Europe in 2050. I think the Marienborg Declaration underlines our commitment to that vision. We have the resources, we have the technologies. Now we must put it all together in a way that can provide clean and, of course, affordable energy and a high level of energy security. In the short run, we must put all necessary instruments to use, but we must not move from one dependence to another. We will always be at risk if we are dependent on fossil fuels. And that is why we have to speed up the green transition, offshore wind, green hydrogen, and so on. I am convinced that if we work together, we can achieve these goals. But we have to do it faster, cheaper, now. And of course, the question is, how can we do this exactly? Because we all share the vision, but how will we actually be able to do it? Where are the challenges that we have to solve? Where are the opportunities? I hope that today's summit will give us the guidance on how to turn our vision into reality. And my guess is that all Europeans are looking at us. Because of the high prices and because of inflation, they need answers from us. I, of course, look forward to getting started, and I am very, very happy to see all of you in Denmark today.
I now pass the floor to the President of the European Commission, Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen.
Yes.
Mrs. President.
Thank you so much, first of all, Mette. Thank you so much for the invitation. I think I speak in the name of all. It's a splendid place, splendid weather, and a fascinating topic you have invited us to. So thank you very much for that. And it's urgent. You just said it. We see energy prices breaking record after record. The consequences for households and companies are not sustainable anymore. And what we see is, yes, an energy crisis, but it's mainly a fossil fuel energy crisis. So we need a green solution against this fossil fuel energy crisis. As you know, on the European level, REPowerEU is part of our answer. We are accelerating the clean energy transition with an interconnected system. And there are three main pillars. First of all, it requires that we are saving energy, mainly fossil fuel energy. At European level, we have agreed that all member states to do jointly save 15% of energy between August now and March 23. The second pillar is we need to diversify away from Russian fossil fuels to reliable, like-minded sources, mainly also to fill our storages. And here's good news. we have reached now an average in the European Union of storage filling of 80%. So we basically have reached already the amount that we have agreed on for this year, but we know that we will increase the storage filling. And the third pillar is the main pillar. That is the knowledge that our dependency on Russian fossil fuels will only be over if we invest massively into renewable energy. And that's why we're here today. So we need clean, we need cheaper, and we need homegrown power. We need it big, and we need it fast. And that's why we propose to further increase our 2030 target for renewable energy up to 45% now. It means a renewable energy capacity of around 1,250 gigawatt by 2030. Just to put it in a frame, today we have 340 gigawatt of wind and solar in the European Union, or 500 gigawatt if you take biomass into the calculation. So it is thanks to you today, too, that the European Union goals are totally within reach. The declaration that you will sign today here commits to multiply by 7 the current offshore wind capacity in the Baltic Sea region. That's amazing. To up to 20 gigawatt by 2030. This is already 1/3 of the overall EU ambition for offshore wind by 2030, 1/3. So it is evident, by working together, we can achieve more and quicker. That's the task of the day. The benefits of regional cooperation are immense. When offshore wind turbines are connected to multiple countries, the costs are reduced, the impact on the environment is minimized, and the energy production never goes to waste because it can flow towards different markets at different times. This is where solidarity meets sustainability and security of supply. Now, we at the European Commission will be supporting your work in every possible way, from planning to permitting to financing. We back with full support the regional cooperation initiatives like this. Since 2008, we have worked closely together through the Baltic Energy Market Interconnection Plan. You all know it as BMIP, the BMIP high-level group. This exemplary cooperation is on track to fully integrate the electricity systems of the Baltic states with the rest of the European Union by 2025 already. I know we have to accelerate. That's the goal also, to be faster there. So we need a lot of smart brains and, of course, of financing to accelerate that goal. This Baltic electricity system integration has received continuous support from the European budget with more than 1.2 billion euros in financing. And here in Copenhagen today, we are just building on that momentum. I want to highlight at the very end 3 specific points where we can accelerate the investment in offshore wind. First, let's agree to make hybrid projects a priority when planning interconnectors and offshore generation. Hybrid projects which connect wind farms to more than one member state save up to 10% of the total project costs. The Commission is ready to work with you to identify the incentives and, of course, to overcome the possible bottlenecks. There are always bottlenecks. So let us know so that we work on that. A great example of cross-border cooperation is the LEYEN offshore wind project between Estonia and Latvia. And I have good news. Today, the Commission selected LEYEN as an so-called important cross-border project, so a PCI. And you know, this is good news because this makes it eligible for EU funding. Secondly, let's make rapid progress with grid network development plans based on common offshore commitments. The Commission with ENSO-E will prepare by September technical guidance to support you in this work. And finally, let's provide the political backing to accelerate the permitting. We all know that this is one of the biggest bottlenecks. We have put forward a proposal on the table with REPower EU. You, the member states, define the go-to areas, and if you have done that, then the deployment of renewables and their connection to the grid is an overriding public interest. That's important, because then we can fast forward the permitting within 1 year. So this should qualify for the most favorable procedures available in your country. Let's make it real. Let's do it fast.
Thank you very much, Mrs. President. We'll just proceed to the third and final speaker, the Prime Minister of Poland, Mr. Mateusz Morawiecki. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mette, for organizing this meeting. Let me say a couple of words also about energy, but not only in the context of energy transformation, but maybe even more focusing on energy security, because we do witness right now geopolitical shifts, and we don't know yet what shape they will eventually take. Therefore, we must rely on reliable partners. And so far, we were discussing at length all sorts of different aspects of energy transformation. And we should do so in the future as well. But supplementing those discussions, we have to discuss also energy security, because security overall is not only about strong army, strong alliance, but also security of finances of our citizens, and also energy security, which we now so painfully witness as a missing link in our overall economic and social architecture. Russia has wrapped a web of energy dependency around Europe like a spider. And many countries now have a very hard time getting out of this deadly web. The invasion of Ukraine is not the only Russian military operation. The Kremlin has been waging a gas and energy war with Europe for years. And this is why all our considerations around energy should bear in mind that Russia is using energy as a weapon. And this, therefore, energy security even more important than energy transformation, because there is no energy transformation without energy security. For too long, the low price of Russian gas, or cheap Russian gas, I should put it in inverted commas, has been the most important value for many countries. And the real price for cheap gas today is the blood of Ukraine. We have learned how risky it is to rely on unreliable partners as far as energy issues are concerned. The plans to block the Baltic Sea by Russian gas pipelines were a strategic mistake. We know this now. Better late than never. We must replace both Nord Stream pipelines with green energy based on sources belonging to democratic countries and not to tyranny. The Baltic Sea should be the domain of cooperation between European countries, as is the case at this summit, the domain of offshore investment. And I'm very happy that this discussion is starting right now. Maybe there will be a series of those summits accelerating the process in not so distant future. After the Black Sea became a clear target for the Kremlin, we should also be fearful of potential further targets of Moscow, which could be the Baltic Sea. And this is why I'm so happy to welcome Finland and Sweden as part of NATO, because it clearly makes potential threats from Russia more difficult, because the Baltic Sea is almost becoming an internal NATO sea. Offshore wind energy constitutes one of the key directions of transformation also of our energy sector. The energy potential of the Polish part of the Baltic Sea is considered one of the largest in the region. By 2030, we're going to have 13% of our electricity generated from offshore, and by 2040, around 20% of our electricity. So accelerating the pace of diversification is critical for us. Now, finally, a couple of words on the climate policy and in the context of current situation as well. We are united by our concern for the climate. Polish gas and offshore investment, as well as plans to build a nuclear block, enable us to strive for a low-emission economy in not-so-distant future. Poland has long talked about the need for a reform of the ETS, and let me focus on those two aspects at the end of my intervention. We are now, as Ursula was saying, breaking one record after another. More than 300 euro megawatt per hour in gas, or electricity in 1 year, electricity price for 1,000 euro. This is not sustainable. This is clearly a victory of Putin and his policy. Therefore, we should also use all the armory in our arsenal to counteract those targets which Putin these instruments which Putin put in place. And I will mention two of them. One is ETS system, which should be suspended in its current form for 1 or 2 years, or we could fix a price, or either a complete fixed price or within a bandwidth for 1 or 2 years, as I said, just to lower the price for electricity for our citizens and for our businesses as well. And second mechanism which we should use is, to cut the long story short, a pricing mechanism which is being used by the European Commission in the context of merit order and the pricing mechanism which at the end of the day is creating huge tensions on the electricity market and energy market. I think there will be opportunity to go more deeply in our working sessions into those, but I think it's badly needed that we change it. And finally, it's worth quoting a climate data that is rarely mentioned. Apart from all the tragedy of war and all the atrocities and the barbaric Russian aggression, there is one other dimension. The greenhouse gas emissions caused by Russian invasion are already greater than the planned emission reduction in the EU for the next 3 years by 2025. So people who care about ecology, that is all of us, should therefore be the greatest proponents of ending the war. But please bear in mind that the quickest way to end the war is to lose it. And we cannot afford that Ukraine loses this war, because this would only encourage Putin to go after other countries. So without the removal of Russian soldiers from Ukraine, the green transformation in Europe will not be possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Maybe a brief round of applause for Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. President.